Bom dia, novamente, para aqueles que já nos acompanharam na abertura do evento. Eu sou Maria Cristina Oliveira Bruno, coordeno o programa de pós-graduação Interunidades em Museologia da Universidade de São Paulo. Sou uma mulher branca, de 66 anos, cabelos grisalhos, estou vestindo uma roupa preta, com alguns adereços, e atrás existe uma parede bege, algumas plantas e um quadro. Então, agora, iniciamos realmente o nosso programa acadêmico do quarto SInPeM, e com muita satisfação vamos iniciá-lo com a conferência do nosso colega de Strasbourg, Sebastian Soubiran. Ele tem um currículo bastante robusto e potente, de muitos trabalhos na nossa área. Eu vou apenas mencionar alguns aspectos. O Dr. Sebastian, ele é o diretor, né, o responsável pelo Jardin de Ciências da Universidade de Estrasburgo, e com isso ele tem um grande envolvimento nas relações e reciprocidades entre museus, universidades, ciência e desenvolvimento social. Ele tem uma participação muito grande no ICOM, no nosso comitê, não é, de museus universitários, e também à frente, né, ou participando do grande programa que ele vai falar conosco sobre isso, Universium. É com muita satisfação, Sebastian, que o recebemos aqui em nosso programa, mesmo que em ambiente digital. Nós contaremos com essa apresentação, com a participação, depois de duas colaborações, da Isabela Backx, que já está em tela, que realiza pós-doutorado no Museu de Arqueologia e Etnologia, e da Renata Beltrão, que é nossa estudante de museologia e atuante também em museus, que elas farão toda a mediação em relação às perguntas. As perguntas que possam, não é, surgir ao longo da apresentação da palestra podem ser encaminhadas pelo chat, e depois, ao final, nós faremos, então, toda essa mediação. Agradeço aos nossos intérpretes, tanto de Libras quanto do inglês, a toda a nossa infraestrutura aqui representada pelo Kleberson e pelo Murilo, e desejo, Sebastian, uma boa conferência para você. Então, mais uma vez, agradeço a sua presença. Obrigada.
Obrigada, Cristina. Bom dia a todos. My Portuguese that's it for my Portuguese. Sorry about it. Thank you so much for inviting me. So I will start by describing myself, sorry. So I'm Sebastian. I'm 49 years old. I'm red hair, brown eyes with a bird. I'm wearing a blue shirt with a red tie. You can see with small white dots on it, and a blue jacket. And I'm in my office, and behind me you can see the wall, but with a panel with the picture of the Zoological Museum of Strasbourg, which will be one of the project I will discuss today. So. And my presentation today will focus on one main subject, which is the relationship between human science research and museology, but also science museum. So how, especially social history of science, collaborate or interact with museology of science and museum of science. I will start my presentation with the PowerPoint. I forgot I had a PowerPoint, sorry. So now I should share it with you. There we go. And the title I choose is Between Two Worlds, New Perspectives in Curating Science. I think this is one of the main topics I am dealing with, because as a training, I'm a historian of science. I've got a PhD in history of science. And as it was said, Cristina said, I also in charge now of cultural structure in the University of Strasbourg, where I'm dealing with different kind of university museum. And more broadly, I'm also interested in my research of the history of university museum and the connection between scientific community and their heritage and their relationships with the preservation and valorization of heritage. And within this research topic, we can find collections and museums, of course. So my presentation will be in 3 parts. On the first part, I will try to sort of summarize what seems to me be the main focus or the main interest that raised during the last 20 years within social history of science, or to talk more broadly within science studies towards science museums and scientific collections. So that will be my first part. My second part will be the other side, how science museum or museology of science was connected to those new research in history of science, and how it impact the way science was put in display in public space. And my third part would be to share with you what to have a case study, basically, which is the one of the Zoological, the renovation of the Zoological of Strasbourg. So, as I said, for the last 20 years, one can see a renowned interest in the field of social history of science into science museums, scientific collections, but mainly because there's a new trend which is very concerned about studying and highlighting the materiality of knowledge, how to make visible the fact that knowledge are not just only theoretical production, but they're also very anchored into materiality, into social, into political, into economical, into cultural issues. So the building of scientific knowledge is very much connected to material issue, and being aware of that, museums, of course, heritage collections, buildings where those knowledge were produced, places where knowledge were displayed, tend to become a very important or a field of interest for social historian of science. If you're looking at the historiography, maybe you can have mainly 4 main approach. The one was very much connected to connected to the reproduction of experiments and historical reproduction, but also try to figure out how to reconstruct historical laboratories, historical cabinets, in order to understand the way objects were displayed and how it was connected to the production of knowledge, but also in order to understand the connection with know-hows and practical knowledge. The fact that theoretical knowledge can also very much be embodied, in the sense that the body sometimes is very much involved in the development of new kind of knowledge. This is also very much connected to scientific instruments. So there was a strong focus on the understanding of the functioning of scientific instruments and reproduction of experiments. The second trend was very much connected in understanding, going back to the object and focusing on one specific object and understanding its trajectory from the laboratory to the museum, to a showcase where it was displayed, in order to see how many lives and how many connection there was between, and strong connection between the production of knowledge and the necessity to display this knowledge to the public. The third trend has investigated the relationship between the construction of museums and the development of new research fields and especially disciplines. So especially during the 19th century, but not only, you can also see it during the 20th century. When you're thinking about science museum like Palais de la Découverte in Paris, or the Exploratorium, or the Cité des Sciences et de l'Industrie, we were very much connected to physics and to high energy physics, to quantum mechanics, and so on. But in the 19th century, we can also think about the Natural History Museum, where their development was very much connected to the development of new disciplines as zoology, mineralogy, paleontology, in all those natural sciences. And museums, and Natural History Museum specifically, helped in legitimizing and the development of these new disciplines towards other scientific communities, but also towards a larger audience, which will be the public of the museum. Other research were much more focused on, and this is the illustration I gave in my slide, on the exhibition, the museum exhibition, and the fact that exhibition would be neutral or impartial, especially for science exhibition connected with scientific knowledge, because there is this connection between science, the neutrality of scientific knowledge, and so on. And so when you're doing an exhibition, or when you're developing a permanent exhibition, even though in a museum, talking about science, there is a kind of neutrality that is supposed to come with that. And this was challenged especially by Sharon MacDonald in the books, The Politics of Displays. And it shows that, in fact, as you all well aware, that exhibition can't be neutral. The narratives of the exhibition is always charged with political, cultural, historical issues that diffuse within the narrative you will choose to exhibit a specific subject or a specific historical point. And impartiality, especially those concerned with the science and technology, is a kind of a myth. And those research show very well that technologies of display and ideas about science are mobilized to tell stories of progress, of citizenship, of racial and national differences. And it was very important, those research, especially to help us to get a better reflexivity about the narratives of those exhibitions. And of course, for the last 10 years, the raising concern with visual studies environmental science, post-colonial studies, Anthropocene, for instance, were very much connected also or interested in the way all those questions were displayed within a museum. So to sum up, there is a clear interest within social history of science and science studies in general on museums, but also on artifacts and collection, and the way scientific knowledge can be put on display with different techniques. There's a lot of studies nowadays also on planetarium, those new places that emerged during the 20th century that actually allow to develop new narratives about science, about the cosmos, and was very much also connected, especially in the United States, to the space program, to the legitimation of spending lots of money in developing a space program within a country. So how those science center helped in legitimizing this policy and this funding of space program. So now I will, if I try to question how museum worlds, museum community grasp those new studies and understand those new issues or those new research that were developed by a social history of science. We can see that for the last 20 years also, there is a concomitance. And I will give few examples for me of, there's many exhibitions or examples, but I choose a few that for me are representatives of this relationship and this impact, mutual impact between a research field that is social history of science or cultural history of science, and exhibition and museology and science museum. So my first example will be exhibition that were very much connected to celebration, anniversaries, and big figures of scientific worlds. As you probably know, commemorations, anniversaries are always a very good opportunity to renew, to develop cultural events, and it's always a good inspiration for specific exhibitions, especially temporary exhibitions in museums. So there's a few exhibitions I would like to point it out for the last 20 years. One was connected to Darwin, connected to the 200 years of his birth. The Darwin was this exhibition was very interesting for me because it was one of the first exhibitions I'm aware of that used one very well-known tools of social history of science, which is controversy. Controversy is the way historians of science explain how scientific knowledge is built out of a competition between two different kinds of two different theories, two different kinds of different way of interpreting the same fact. We now are all aware about this controversy subject. Unfortunately, I think that the sanitary crisis we are confronted to make lots of people aware about the fact that the scientific community doesn't agree necessarily, and it's part of the production of knowledge not to agree, but the way the agreement is built by this scientific community is what interests historian of science. But this disagreement that is part of science is not always, large audience are not always completely aware of this. And sometimes it can be very frustrating or surprising when you're not aware that before agreement or before a consensual agreement on the fact, there's always disagreement. So that's part of the scientific process. And this exhibition on Darwin, because of the connection with the theory of evolution, and the theory of evolution in a very good example of a controversy, and how step by step a theory will enlarge its supporters, and became one of the theory that is understood as or which is shared by the main community of scientists. The second exhibition I will take as an example is one of Albert Einstein. Once again, it was connected to the 100 years of the publication of his work on relativity. And this time, this exhibition was connected to recent research work done by historians of science on the materiality of knowledge, and especially connected to the fact that Einstein, before writing the theory of relativity, was working at the patent institution in Zurich, the world institution that was studying innovation, technical innovation, and in order to approve patents and to have this economical protection that can be delivered with a specific patent. And he was particularly working on different systems which were trying to coordinate time. So he was working on specific clock systems that were used to try to coordinate different times, especially to make sure, this issue of having the good time, especially with the train transportation, which were developed during the late 19th and early 20th century. So this involvement with this kind of technology and these relationships to coordination of time was connected with the development of the theory of relativity for Einstein. And it really helps to understand how a very theoretical knowledge can be anchored in a very practical and technical issues and technical knowledge. So this materiality of knowledge is very well illustrated with the case of Einstein and relativity. And this exhibition aims to give the public an insight of this materiality and the connection between practical thinking and theoretical thinking. Another exhibition which was connecting to Pasteur, it's in French. It was in Paris at the Palais de la Découverte. I don't know if some of you know the Palais de la Découverte, but it's the first science museum that was developed in the 20th century without collections. So it was invented by scientists, and it was the first museum, and that's why it's called Palace, science museum without collection. And they are very much into, very much focused on theoretical science, on fundamental science, and with a very educative purpose to understand experimentation, to understand science within a laboratory. And there was a switch in the early 20th century, and I think this exhibition on Pasteur is one of the examples of their awareness, of their will to take into account more social connection or social dimension of science In fact, this exhibition, for those who can read French, you can see that the speech of the exhibition referred to a very famous philosopher of science, French philosopher of science, Bruno Latour, which is a philosopher but also a sociologist of science, and is very much into the understanding the social dimension of the building of scientific knowledge. So this exhibition focused on the way Pasteur developed his technique of vaccine, and but it was very much connected to the condition and the practical, the economical, the political environment that surround the development of vaccine by Pasteur. Maybe one of the last exhibition I would like to share with you, it's also in France. It's the Versailles, Castle of Versailles. And this one was more concerned with the connection between science and power and the building of scientific knowledge and power. So it was, the topics was connected to the way science was developed within the cour of Versailles. So it was very much connected with the new historiography on the history of science, of modern science, and especially the one within the monarchy environment. There's also, just to move a bit to the university, this exhibition was developed by the Humboldt University to celebrate the 300 years of science within the Humboldt. And as you can, and on the pictures, you can see that there's a lot of objects that are exhibit within the exhibitions, lots of university collections from various research fields. So it very much reflects this new interest into multidisciplinarity or interdisciplinarity of research fields, but also their materiality through objects. So we do have lots of objects that were exhibited on that exhibition that reflect, that is the good way to reflect the production of knowledge for the last 300 years at the Humboldt University. I would like also to mention two exhibitions, one that were made by the philosopher of science, Bruno Latour, I just talked about earlier, and he was involved as commissioner in two exhibitions at the Center for Art and New Media in Karlsruhe in Germany. And those exhibitions were very much interested in the way objects came into a public place. And he was also interested in what we called the critical zone, which is the very thin place on Earth where human beings are living. And those exhibitions were, in fact, in themselves a research project. So the whole development and the whole reflection about the exhibition is to initiate a research project on specific topics, which are usually pluri and multidisciplinary, and then collaborate with curators, with architects, with museologists, and to put it in a public space. And those two experiments, those two exhibitions are a very good illustration of the strong connection between, we can find, especially in history of science, but not only probably, we can find in museum, and the richness of this mutual collaboration between research process and museological process and the curation process. Last but not least, before turning to Strasbourg, I would like to mention also two other institutions which are university or which are based in a scientific institution or university institution. One is in Copenhagen, the museum, and one of the Wellcome Trust in London. Both are addressing specific issues on health and history of medicine. And those two also very much anchored their museology and their exhibitions into research, but they also very much interested in strong collaboration with artists. So in their exhibition, there's always art pieces that participate to the development of the narratives. So this strong connection between art, research, and museology is also very interesting in those museums. Before talking about the renovation of the Zoological Museum, I would like to mention two experiences that were very rich for me in my thinking about the renovation of the Zoological Museum, and which were connected to two specific exhibitions in Strasbourg that were developed by the city of Strasbourg within the Modern and Contemporary Art Museum of Strasbourg. And those two exhibitions were interested in exhibiting two important cultural events at a European level. Once the first exhibition was interested in Spiritism and how Spiritism diffused in different cultural fields within Europe, but abroad Europe during the 19th and early 20th century, within literature, paintings, arts, but also within science. So the exhibition wanted to question this interpenetration between Spiritism and art, literature, and science. And I was one of the curator of the exhibition, and I was of course working on the space dedicated to the connection between Spiritism and science. And in that case also I was able to work with the neurohistoriography that was interested in this specific connection between Spiritism and the scientific community. And that was very interesting. And it was very, very important for us to highlight the cultural dimension of science, that science and the production of scientific knowledge was not hermetic of the cultural trends within the society. And in fact, science is part of the building of culture of a society. And so the second exhibition in Strasbourg was more concerned with the history of the city during the German period of the late 19th century and early 20th century. And it was curating how to curate the cultural development of Strasbourg within that period. And they also included the development of the university and the production of knowledge. And once again, it was very important because it very much interconnected the development of different cultural dimensions of the city, including the production of knowledge. So once again, we were collaborating with the museum, with the different curators from art museum, from historical museum. We were collaborating strongly with them to build this exhibition reflecting on the cultural history of the city during the German period. So it very much highlights the part played by science, but the part played by knowledge in the definition of a mutual history and a mutual culture within a local, in its local dimension, and basically within a city like Strasbourg. I don't know how long I still have, but okay, I just move on, and then you stop me whenever you need to stop me. This slide is just to show that with the raising concern of social issues like global warming, Anthropocene, the management of personal data, the management of risk, the migration, lots of social issues in which science have a strong impact. So this raising concern certainly helped this connection between museum world and social history of science or science studies. And here you can have lots of exhibition in different science museums that were concerned with science and society issues. And we are completely concerned with this, how to deal with the social issues, especially with environmental issues that our society is confronted to nowadays. And we entered the process of renovating the Zoological Museum in Strasbourg. This is the slide where you can see that there are 5 floors within the museums, and we try to rethink totally the narratives and the different exhibition space of the museums. So these questions of connecting curation of museum spaces and research in various fields are very much at the core of the scientific and cultural project I worked on for the preservation of the renovation, of the Zoological Museum of Strasbourg. I should mention, of course, that I'm not alone on that. I'm working with lots of colleagues, lots of persons. It's this museum also, I should mention, is managed both by the university and the city of Strasbourg. And this both management is very interesting because I hope it will help us to experiment a new way, a new museology, a new way of thinking how to create scientific knowledge and how to create scientific collections. The first line of the new scientific and cultural project of the museum say that the Zoological Museum of Strasbourg offers to re-question the relationships between the human beings and the animals on the light of the non-reversible evolution regarding life conditions, health, biodiversity, and climate. So our intention is very much to raise this issue, these environmental issues, and how can a museum and a zoological museum can participate in raising these questions. And one of the main objects also is to connect different communities, the public, the museum communities, and the research communities within the university.
Sorry, excuse me, just to
yes.
let you know, you have 15 minutes left.
Ah, okay, that's more than enough.
Okay.
I think I will finish in between 5 and 10 minutes. Thank you so much. I will come back to the Hermann cabinet, but our main missions are to preserve, to study, and to share collections with the public and to with a large audience in general, to promote access to and shared scientific knowledge on the environment. I think that's a very important step, and this is where maybe the strong connection between curators, commissioners, and scientific researchers in various fields is very important. Of course, the missions of raising curiosity about the science and societal issues in which they are involved. So it's very much the idea that because of the strong impact of science on society and the strong role of science in understanding and sometimes maybe to resolve some of our environmental issues, it is important to enlarge the number of people that feel concerned about this involvement of scientific issues within the environmental issues. So first, curiosity about science, but also to make them feel involved in those issues. And one way to do it will be to help them to understand the scientific process, the way scientific knowledge is produced, and the different way that exists in which scientific knowledge is produced. I was talking about controversies. I was giving the example of controversy, and I think it's very important to make the public aware about this process of the construction of knowledge. It's not only providing access to scientific knowledge, it's also providing access to the understanding of the process, of the way scientific knowledge is built, and the way people and scientific communities interact each other. So it's very much important for us to bring back the humans, bring back the society, and not only educate to science. And one of the main challenge for us is to promote the participation of as many people as possible in contemporary debates related to the environment, and how the museum, the Zoological Museum, can be a kind of forum for this kind of debates and this kind of engagement of various communities to these environmental issues. So now you can see my favorite mug. I see it's one I had when I went to Rio de Janeiro at the Botanical Garden. So we privilege four approach for the visit experience. Wonder, of course, I think it's very important, and I will add maybe emotion also. I think it's a very important way of engaging with the visitors. As I said, we would like also to focus on the understanding of practices, of the methods, of the impacts of scientific research, be aware of the strong impact of the development of scientific knowledge in our society. We also want to develop some participation with specific places where, and within the museums, the exhibition spaces where you can discuss, you can engage with other visitors, but also with animators or with researchers. And also to promote the engagement of the people, of the visitors, into the preservation of environment at local but also global level. and to sort of build this kind of collective action, and how the museum can become a place to make aware about the importance of collective action, collective engagement between different communities that include scientific community within the University of Strasbourg. So we choose to focus on 5 main issues. One will be the representation of the world, and exhibitions, especially the permanent exhibition, will build narratives on how scientific community were very much involved in understanding the world, in inventorying the world, and what kind of practice collect of objects within the world, how the knowledge was very much connected to this collecting process, to those practices of inventorying, of organizing the species between them. Also help to better understand the biodiversity. So how how scientific knowledge help to understand the interaction between the different species, and involving also interaction between human beings and the different species within different ecosystems. Of course, the notion of climate change and the monitoring, but also the modeling of the Earth system is one of the subjects we want to raise in these narratives. The connection between environment issues and health. So that was also very important, and even more with the sanitary crisis we had with the zoonoses, understanding the connection between or the circulation of virus between animals and human beings, and of course to question this general relationships of human beings and nature. We decided for that to have different kind of spaces, permanent, semi-permanent, but also temporary spaces. In fact, the semi-permanent is very important for us, as it will, for us, it's a way to think how a museum can stay connected to to the evolution of scientific knowledge in the various fields. And we are all aware that the environmental studies and the understanding of environmental issues are changing very much and very quickly. So it's important, if we want to be a place where we can raise these issues, we can co-construct this knowledge with the various communities, then it should be able to evaluate in the time. So we can't just have some permanent spaces, permanent exhibitions. We should also have different kind of exhibitions that will stay a bit less longer than a permanent exhibition. In a whole, this project is very much connected to the will of both the city and the University of Strasbourg to engage with science and society dialogue, and to help the engagement of various communities, various inhabitants of the city, but at a regional level as well, on science and society issues. Connected to the renovation of the Zoological Museum, we also built a new planetarium. So we will have a whole spaces dedicated to this interconnection between the inhabitants of the city and the museums of the city, and also the University of the city of Strasbourg. So I do hope that those this project will help us to experiment this close connection and mutual enrichment between museum fields and academic fields in different research fields, in the sense that with this zoological museum, the city and the university are strongly connected together with the same aim of engaging on social issues with a large audience. So let's hope that this mutual connection and this mutual goal of connecting with the people will make this whole project sustainable on the long term, and mutually enrich this connection between the museum worlds and the research fields in different disciplines. I think I will conclude with this last sentence. Thank you very much for your attention.
Muito obrigada mesmo, Sebastian. Você está me ouvindo em inglês para você? Bom,
yes. Yes, I can hear you in English. Yes.
A sua conferência foi fundamental para abrir, não é, esse evento, justamente nesse momento que nós temos tantas incertezas, tantas dúvidas, né, e tantas novas aproximações entre as sociedades e a ciência, e o especial papel dos museus. Acho que você nos apresentou questões fundamentais que vão nos estimular, não só aqui durante o evento, mas durante muito tempo ainda da nossa atuação. Para abrir as perguntas, enfim, que depois serão mediadas, não é? Que estão sendo propostas no chat, eu faria uma pergunta de início, com toda a sua experiência, não é, profissional, e também toda a sua experiência, não só, como nós dizemos aqui no Brasil, não é, de colocar a mão na massa em processos curatoriais, mas também em ser professor e refletir, não é, sobre esses processos. Nesse último grande projeto, né, que você apresentou no final, que vai justamente, que tem, né, a proposta de estreitar as relações entre a cidade, a universidade, a ciência, onde você tem encontrado as maiores dificuldades para a implementação desse processo? Quer dizer, dentro da universidade, é a compreensão das políticas públicas da cidade, por exemplo, a própria inserção, né, e compreensão dos estudantes. Então, se você pudesse nos falar um pouco onde você vê essas dificuldades, sobretudo ligando a sua última frase, não é, que você nos trouxe, essa real dimensão da sustentabilidade, não é, para projetos dessa natureza.
Thank you, Cristina. Thank you very much. You're absolutely right. There are many challenges that we are confronted to. The first one, as you pointed out, is the how to get the best of the city and of the university. The best of the city, which is the fact that the city of Strasbourg has 11 museums, different kind of collections, various professional knowledge, different audiences also, and different collections. And the university it's much more connected to scientists, or to research, to education, teaching, but it also has some professional other collections and different approach. And so you have different kind of approach on how to deal with the museums, how to deal with the preservation of heritage. but I'm more concerned at the moment because of the project and because the two institutions are very much have agreed to renovate together the museum. We're very much beneficiated from the best of the two, I would say. But it's a project, project management. So at the moment, it's very easy to get the resources into the museum, to get access. It was very easy to convince colleagues from the university to get involved. And instead of having a super scientific committee, we decided to have a small ad hoc scientific committee on each specific exhibition we want to deal with. It was a good way, I think, for us to get access to different research fields and to help the dialogue with those scientists. And also, what is very important sometimes in this kind of collaboration between academics and museum professionals is to be at the same level. It's not having the academics to explain to you how you should do your work because they're scientists, but to have a real collaboration in the sense that you know how to create knowledge, and they know they will help you in understanding the knowledge you want to create. So I think it's a mutual collaboration on the very the level of the collaboration is very important. And also with the animators, it was also a very important challenge for us to get the animators and the mediation department within the process of the renovation right at the beginning. So we were connected to the public right at the beginning because it's not the scientists, it's not necessarily the curators that knows the public. Sometimes it's mainly the animators. So it was one of those challenges on how to work all together to get the knowledge of and the professional knowledge and the scientific knowledge of everyone. And I think that this collaboration between the two institutions is in that sense, I think it's a very good experiment for me, and it worked. So far, it worked quite well. Of course, there were some challenges with the main challenge for us was to convince some people of the necessity to renovate the museum. The sense that they want to keep the old museum because they figure out it was the 19th century that was preserved, and they were afraid we destroyed this. That's why we insist in our collaboration with the architects and the museograph that we should keep the spirit of the place. But it doesn't mean that you have to keep everything within the museum to do that. So it's more something that... So for one thing, that was one challenge. So rebuilding this connection between university communities, scientists, students is certainly another challenge that was not easy to achieve. But because we're dealing with environmental studies, and environmental studies is the kind of new, research fields where you can address lots of disciplines. So it was easier to deal with interdisciplinary approach rather than, zoological approach. It was not only a question of zoology or mineralogy, or it's more a question of environment. So when you're talking about this kind of big issues, then it's easier to deconstruct this disciplinary approach that you usually find in a science museum.
Obrigada, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Agora, muito obrigada pela resposta. Acho que as nossas dificuldades coincidem em diversos lugares do planeta. Eu vou passar agora a mediação, não é, para a Renata e para a Isabela, que elas vão trazer as perguntas do chat.
Muito bem. A primeira pergunta, ela vem da professora Marília Xavier Cury, do programa de pós-graduação em museologia da USP. Ela quer saber, a primeira coisa, o museu desenvolve estudos de público para maior conhecimento sobre as interações com visitantes? E ela já emenda uma segunda pergunta. Como a equipe de educação participa das exposições e de outros projetos de curadoria?
Okay, sorry.
Isabela, se você puder ativar o canal de áudio em português para ouvir o Sérgio, ele pediu para você repetir a segunda pergunta.
Vou repetir a segunda pergunta, então. Ela quer saber como a equipe de educação participa das exposições e de outros projetos de curadoria.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Maybe I will start with the second one and then move to the interaction with the audience. As I said, we decided to for each exhibition space, we created working groups in which we included scientists from various research fields, curators, project manager, I was in the group, but also animators. And because we didn't want to, of course, we had general lines about the topics, about the narratives, but it was important for us to include as soon as possible the animators. So basically, they very much interact with the specification of the narration of every exhibition space, and they also were there to offer different kind of mediation tools within the exhibition space. So they were working together, and they were working with us in order to offer and to develop the mediation tools that will be accessible, to the public. So they were completely integrated within the development of the exhibition space and the mediation tools that will be available for the public in the museum. At the beginning, I also wanted to include to do a participation process in the construction of the exhibition space, the original exhibition space. But unfortunately, it was not possible. Why not? Because well, it's my first experience of renovation of a museum, and I don't know in Brazil, but in France it's very complex. There's lots of people involved. There's lots of people who have idea how to do it best. So it's a big struggle. It's very exciting. It's a great opportunity for me to be part of it, but it's very it's a real challenge. You have to convince, you have to discuss, and we didn't have, especially because there was also lots of political issues. And it was complicated for us to have a clear view of the calendar, and then integrated outside communities was for me a challenge I was not able to achieve. But the fact that we wanted to build semi-temporary exhibitions is very much connected to the fact that once we open the renovated Zoological Museum, which will be normally in 2 years, then we will start working on the change of those semi-temporary exhibitions. And I do hope that we will be able to include the audience in the building of those new semi-temporary exhibition of the museum, because we will hopefully it will be easier, and the frame will be easier to deal with, and to include outside communities from the museum, and to include citizens or inhabitants of Strasbourg in the process. At the moment, we will create focus group with various typology of public to develop the cultural and educative program of the museum during its for the opening of the museum. So it will not be to work on exhibition space, but more on the educative and cultural program.
Muito bem. Então, vamos para a próxima pergunta, que é da professora Maria Isabela Landim. Ela agradece muito pela excelente comunicação e ela queria saber sobre o tamanho e a representatividade das coleções zoológicas e sobre as principais linhas de pesquisa do Museu de Estrasburgo. Como esses aspectos impactam o projeto expositivo? E, no segundo momento, como tratar de temas globais mantendo a identidade institucional?
Okay, for the project, we work with more than, I think, more than 30 scientists from different fields. As I said, we decided to have some different scientific committees with for each exhibition space, and we have in total 4 exhibition space, 1 permanent, 3 semi-permanent, 1 temporary exhibition space, but also other kind of spaces. But for the 4 main exhibition space, we do have different scientific committees. So we do work, we collaborate still with scientific communities. We also collaborate with other academics, researchers at the very beginning, just to experiment or to test the different ideas we would like to different narratives we would like to build within the new museum. So in a whole, I would say that it was about 35 person from the academic field that were involved in helping us to write the scientific project of the museum and cultural project. It's a very well relation in the sense that at the moment, most of the person we collaborating with from the scientific area are very eager to be part of this be part of this renovation and to be part on this curating process of different scientific knowledge and for some of them of their research, in fact, because this is what we're offering. Because some of them we choose them because we are very much interested in their research field. So, this was very much how to curate the research they were working on, and to interact also with other kind of approach. So I think it worked very well, as I said, because we succeed to have a strong dialogue between them. But the challenge, as I said, is okay. This is the renovation process. So how to preserve and how to keep this ongoing dialogue and ongoing connection with the scientific community within the museum. The question of the global issues, you're absolutely right. It's not that easy to grasp because, but I think that's why it's important to have a global narratives where that can be shared by most of the person that will interact or that will be involved in your museum. I think I was in a conference last week, and I think that partnerships and is very important, especially in our case with the scientific community, but other kind of institution. But these partnerships should be based on a commune values and commune interest, in the sense that your scientific narratives, your scientific program, your strategic program should be very clear with the person you want to collaborate with. And because we stated how we want to address those environmental issues and starting to focus mainly on specific axes, how to do that, then I think it's very helpful not to be overwhelmed by all those strong issues that sometimes you don't know how to start, and finally you don't say anything because you're saying too much.
Obrigada, professora. A próxima pergunta é da Thalita Souza, da Universidade Federal do Estado do Rio de Janeiro. Ela gostaria de saber se indígenas são incluídos nas pesquisas, na metodologia ou de alguma outra forma na instituição, se indígenas estão à frente desse debate sobre natureza e território.
Thank you for your question. I think, as it was pointed, we're all dealing with very different issues regarding our local situation. So in Strasbourg, our main issues are the relationship between France and Germany. Because it's a strong tension between those two countries, and Strasbourg is in the middle. So this historical commune history between French history and German history, and we don't have this relationship to native people in this city. So in regard to the issue you can raise in Brazil, for instance, and so on, but we did of course we are aware about the importance of the post-colonial issues about regarding the collections, for instance. So the provenance of the collections, the way scientific knowledge, especially natural history collections, were collected in various colony of European countries. And Strasbourg, of course, have various collections which come from those countries. We have so we certainly raised this issue in the permanent exhibition of the connection between the production of knowledge and colonization, and how to have these post-colonial perspectives, for one thing. The other one that we will not deal in this museum, but we are dealing in more general, I mean, in the narratives, because we are not exhibiting human remains, but we do have some human remains within the collection of the museums, and this is probably where we're gonna have to deal with different countries and different communities from which those human remains were collected, and this is new, both for the university and both for the City Museum of Strasbourg, but it is the dynamic that has been started, and I'm very confident that it will reach a point where we will succeed to engage a dialogue with the different communities from the different countries of the provenance of the collections, and this is one point we are very eager with Marta Lorenzo, the chair of UMAC, and me as a chair of Universum, to point out and to raise within the University Museum Academy community.
Ok, eu acho que a gente tem tempo para mais uma pergunta. Ela é da Joselaine, que é egressa do PPGmus, da USP, e ela parabeniza o Sebastian pela apresentação e pelo trabalho, e ela quer saber se já foi possível colher os frutos das renovações com pesquisa de satisfação do público, por exemplo.
This is a very good point. We did have a survey before the renovation to monitor the kind of audience were coming to the museum. One very interesting point that was shown is that compared to other city museums in Strasbourg, we had the largest variety of communities of the audience. And we had people coming from different social backgrounds, broader social background than other museums within the city. So this is something we certainly want to preserve. As I said, the participatory process, we want to start to develop our educative and cultural program for the opening. Will be a way to interact and to start having the audience involved within the activity of the museum. And for sure, it will be very important for us to start a survey once the opening, just to be able to readjust the museum. And this is very important for us to be part of the university, because we should also be able to define what should be useful for us, to help us to adjust evaluate and change within the museum in order to achieve the challenges and the goals that we wanted to achieve with the project. And survey will be obviously one way to do it, certainly.
Será que a gente tem tempo para mais uma pergunta? A Cristina gostaria de voltar? Já estamos perto do horário.
Podemos fazer mais uma pergunta, Renata, tá bom? E daí nós encerramos depois.
Tá bom. Então são duas perguntas, na verdade, da Cíntia Velázquez, da Escuela Nacional de Conservación, Restauración y Museografía de México. Ela pergunta: para o projeto de renovação, foi modificada a forma de utilizar os objetos e as coleções? Em caso de sim, de que maneira? E ela fez uma segunda pergunta: e como o envolvimento dos mediadores, como foi o envolvimento dos mediadores no começo do processo de renovação? Se esse processo foi feito a partir das trocas entre curadores, pesquisadores especialistas e mediadores. Na opinião dela, da Cíntia, ela acha que esses grupos, esses profissionais falam línguas diferentes.
Sure. Thank you. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that, and it's important for me to specify, and thank you for your question, because we had different working groups, and there was only one moment where we had we work all together with the scientists, the animators, and the project managers and curators. But most of the time, it was us, the project managers, that interact with all of them. I also have to say that and I agree that they speak different language, and it was our role to make them understand. And I think the fact that there was this strong connection with the university was very helpful in explaining the scientists that their role was just to be scientists, not to be curator, not to be animator. And when they were starting to explain how we should curate or how we should develop this kind of mediation tool for explaining this kind of topics, we're just saying, no, it's not your role. We're not asking you that. So be aware that, thank you for the idea, but this is not what we're going to do. So there was a lot of explanation and lots of dialogue, but it went quite well. But to be more precise, we had different working groups. So there were the working groups. At the beginning, of course, it's gathering all together, but it's once or twice. And then for each exhibition space, we will designate different people that will work, whether animators, whether curators, whether scientists will work together. But most of the time, they were always the curators and project managers that were interacting whether with the scientists or whether with the animators. And so it was not always all together, working all together, but at the end, it was the kind of commune, collective process. So we had different working groups for all the exhibition parts, in which we were eager to have representatives of different categories of professional backgrounds from the museum. So I don't know if I answer your question, but they were very much involved in the fact that they were, of course, we were providing the part of the narratives, but they were able to interact with us, to say, I don't understand. That topics can't be understood by a public. It's not clear. It's too complex. You have to rephrase. You have to. It doesn't seem coherent. And then so it was also interacting with the general narratives, and then they were also obviously helping us with how to build the mediation, whether should it be a text, should it be a manipulation, hands-on instruments, what kind of media shall we use, what should be the topics, and so on, and the articulation of all that.
Bem, obrigada, Sebastian. Foi um enorme prazer escutá-lo. Eu acho que você abordou questões extremamente fundamentais para o tema geral do evento, não é? Que é justamente resiliência científica, ações museológico-curatoriais. Nós temos um grande interesse no nosso programa de pós-graduação em cada vez mais nos aproximarmos, né, de experiências diferentes que possam, de alguma maneira, equacionar essas dificuldades museológico-curatoriais, né, nos mais diferentes âmbitos. Então, agradeço as colaborações, não é, para esta conferência da Larissa, Fernanda, Sérgio, Kleberson, Murilo e muitos outros que estão nos ajudando, especialmente a Isabela e a Renata, que fizeram a mediação, a todos que estão, não é, a todos e todas que estão aqui nos acompanhando. E eu acho que todos nós esperamos, Sebastian, que você possa, tão logo seja possível, passado esse momento difícil da pandemia, vir a São Paulo para colaborar de forma presencial com o nosso programa e discutir também aqui os nossos dilemas. Então, muito obrigada mesmo, e encerramos, então, esta abertura, não é? A conferência de abertura, e voltamos, então, às 14 horas, com a mesa redonda, que será coordenada pelo professor Camilo de Melo Vasconcelos. O Sebastian, uma última palavra?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. I would like, of course, thank you very much for inviting me, and it's a great honor. I would like also to say that I had the chance to visit twice your country, and I'm very much impressed by your museological program in Brazil in general, and in South America also. So I'm very much aware that my presentation is very European-centered, and I'm very eager to be able to. I do hope I will be able to travel and discuss with you, because I have so much to learn also from your country, and from the reflection you developed. I wasn't aware of. I'm sorry about that, but once I discovered how far you were advanced in reflection on museology, I'm very eager to learn a lot from you also. So thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the honor to give this this opening presentation. And I do wish you a great, all the best, and for the time to come, but also a great discussion for this conference. Thank you so much. Muito obrigado.